we're seeing, okay, Facebook turns into Meta. People are worried about the closed metaverse. Now we're seeing the open. We're seeing peer-to-peer exchange, rapid growth. We're seeing explosions in value, kind of not value creation, but value signals like, oh, NFTs, we didn't know that was existing, or even raising money on blockchains via tokens that was never a possibility, that it enables companies. Anything that you want to mention when it comes to that kind of Web 3.0 narrative?
Yeah. I mean, I think there's sort of a couple of big themes that are interesting. I think the general theme of tokenization is one that we've been passionate about for a long time. And, in some ways, USDC is tokenization of dollars, like tokenization of short-term US, cash instruments, right? Like that's kind of what it is. There's always been this sort of concept that you could tokenize other property, other things that exist in the real world. And NFTs, in my mind, are essentially a huge acceleration in tokenization, but starting with the lowest friction, which is the tokenization of digital goods, the tokenization of just pure intellectual property, or the tokenization of entitlements, right? It's essentially an entitlement layer that now can exist, that is provable, that's crypto provable, that is portable, that has all these attributes, right? Tickets, really, what the fuck is a ticket, right? I mean, a ticket's an entitlement that someone's got a ledger of. It's got a serial number on it, whatever it is, right? Yeah. But fundamentally, entitlements and digital content and intellectual property. So that's the lowest friction form of tokenization, because you don't have the quote unquote real world that you have to reconcile and deal with, at least not at face value. But that theme of tokenization, I think, is one which we're in the super early stages of, right? And years ago, we used to talk about the tokenization of everything. And that's really just saying it makes sense that rights and titles and ownership should be represented as digital tokens that could then in turn get the advantage of all of the capabilities of these blockchain networks and all of the openness of that. And that can create, very, very different kind of capital market structures, and create capital market structures around forms of goods and services and property that existing capital markets can't service efficiently. And so I think it is really powerful from that perspective. So I think that's an area, very significant area. I think another is, kind of going all the way out on the other end of the curve, so to speak, which is, the emergence of DAOs. And, this has obviously been kind of religion for people in the blockchain space, at least in the Ethereum community, since Vitalik's original white paper. And, from my perspective, this is also a kind of a natural evolution of humanity, a natural evolution of social and economic organization. We're moving into an era where a quote unquote multinational, right, which exists through a legal jurisprudence system with all these books and records and all of these kind of things around them. It's a huge edifice that you have to do something globally, can now just be manifested in a set of smart contracts that govern a set of tokens and govern a treasury on chain, and provide a way for labor and capital to interact on a global basis, and for that organization of labor and capital to work on a global basis with a very open form of participation. And so I think we're seeing very nascent experimentation with new corporate forms, in a sense, which I think will ultimately become highly competitive and far superior to legacy corporate forms. And I think over a 10 or 20-year period, what we think of as the great tech companies of today, or this or that, I actually believe over time will be more like on-chain corporate forms that will be far more effective at employing labor and capital and creating goods and services. So I look at the DAO phenomenon as also quite nascent, but I see a world where it's going to ultimately evolve into something quite significant in terms of the nature of, in some ways, the nature of capitalism and the nature of labor and capital as a whole.